I'm good. How are you?
I am doing amazing. And just so everyone's aware, we are going to be recording. Look at you, gorgeous. I'm so happy to have you. I've been waiting for this conversation, I know, since the fall. And when you agreed to do it, I was like, yes, this is amazing. I'm so happy. So thank you so much. I know you've been on like a blitz of a tour and been over the world. So I just really, really first want to thank you for taking the time to be
Oh
here.
my gosh, I'm so happy, Camila. I'm so happy to just be in community and you make it's so beautiful, the energy and how necessary it is. So thank you for, for having me and being supportive of the book, but also the larger community of grievers, particular to our experience and our identity, feels really special to me. So thank you.
Yes, no worries at all. So everyone, again, like I was saying before Eliza joined us, we have Rachel Eliza Griffiths with us. She prefers to be called Eliza, so that's how I'll be referring to her throughout this conversation. And not only is she absolutely gorgeous and has such a great spirit, but she is a multi-hyphenate. She's a poet, a visual artist, a novelist. She is the recipient of the Hurston Wright Foundation Legacy Award and the Patterson Poetry Prize, and was a finalist for the NAACP Image Awards. Her work has appeared in many places, including the New York Times and the New Yorker. And while we are going to be talking about her memoir today, she also does have a debut novel called Promise, which is also award winning. It was Chicago Public Library's Best Book of the Year. And we are extremely excited to talk about the flower bearers. This is what we're going to be talking about today. But I kind of beat up a little bit because I was just carrying it around everywhere as I was going around the city in the fall, wanted to finish it. And every time I was just like throwing it in my bag and folding pages when my bookmark fell out. This is a story that is very much focused on um, some of the traumatic things that happened within a year, one including losing her best friend or like her sister, Camila Aisha Moon, and then also having her husband, Salman Rushdie, attacked as well. And for anyone who maybe is unfamiliar with me as well, I am the founder of Sorry for Your Lost Cards, and we are a culturally fluent greeting card company which focuses on grief support and also just opening up the conversation about grief. Like Eliza has stated, especially for us, I think it sometimes is difficult to find the spaces where we are able to talk about our grief and how we specifically grieve. So I'm just excited that we were able to do that today. And that is what resonated with me with the book, was because there were so many things that I read and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is how I feel. And oh my goodness, someone gets it, because I think grief can be such a very isolating experience. And so where I wanted to start before we really delve in is this this book is a work of art, right? I mean, to me, I felt the poetry in it. I felt so much of the great storytelling as you were moving through your pain. And it was so intimate. Like it was literally like you were like, come sit on my couch and just sit with me, like if we were friends. Like I felt very included and I felt like I was in a lot of the scenes. Like that's how vividly you tell it. But you had these very traumatic, life-changing things happen to you. So how was your creative process? How did you get there, and what really has changed about you as a creative as you find yourself on the other side of things?
Thank you so much for the question. It's an in progress question, like
Mhm.
it's a work in progress.
Mhm.
But I think for me, when I first experienced the first event of trauma, which was losing my chosen sister, I did not want to write poetry. I did not think, oh, I'm going to write a book about that. Like none of that was really available to me because I was in a lot of pain. And my physical body was really shut down in many ways. And so it took some time before I was able to even kind of stabilize my day to day. And
Mhm.
I think for me, the loss of my dear sister that was just, I would wake up and go to bed with this kind of, it just felt like a loop. And it just didn't seem to have any space or direction or oxygen in it. And then a few months later, the very violent attack on my husband, it like tucked that grief into a box. And then there was a new box. And then it was so much. But I think because I've been an artist pretty much since I was born, it became oxygen. Like it came back. And as I was starting to go through memories, and there were so many things about Aisha that I didn't want to forget, that I didn't want to lose, I would write little things down, write notes to her. I would revisit conversations. We had really amazing conversations, and I would be like, oh, I want to write this down. And so at first, it was just maybe gathering, not trying to make it anything right away.
Mm-hmm.
And then I knew eventually, because of my identity as an artist, it would become something. But I just had to actually get my body centered and grounded in a way, small things every day to do something kind for myself, just small wins, small little gestures, service to others, just something every day before I really felt like I could, write a book. And you mentioned the other side, being on the other side of this. I'm on a different side or a different part of the circle of the grief,
Mm-hmm.
because as this book moves, and I'm so grateful for the way it is moving in community, it's new grief.
Yeah.
I'll get choked up sometimes, or I want to call her and say, girl, guess what? And then I'm like, oh, I can't, not the way I want to. And so the grief evolves as you evolve. Right now, I mostly say like I'm on a healing journey
Mm-hmm.
and meeting the new person I'm becoming as I move, as time moves me away from these events. But I know parts of these events now are part of what's now making me feel stronger, but also more vulnerable.
Yeah. You bring up so many things there because that identity shift, right? Where it's like
Hmm.
the biggest thing that I feel it's like I wish there was a handbook of like this is what warning, this is what you may experience, right? And it's like, you say goodbye to this old version of yourself and you meet this new version, right? And it's like the old things don't work anymore, or it's like because I'm new, I'm born anew, but it's like you're getting to know yourself at the same time. So as you've gone through this identity shift, is there something that in particular that you're like, oh, I really love these things about this new version of me? And then are there things that you're kind of like mourning or sad that you maybe can't
Hmm.
get back from the person that you used to be because knowing that you'll never be that version of yourself again?
The thing that I miss is that I laughed a certain way with my friend.
Mm,
We had a sister girl laugh. It might start as a chuckle,
yeah.
and then and then all of a sudden we are laid out, cracking, just giggling, laughing, just total safe and girls, and just,
Hmm.
cutting up. I don't laugh like that anymore. And
Mm,
I laugh a lot, but it was very, very specific because we had our own kind of language.
hmm.
Like she could put her eye up in a room and I'd be like, oh, we out. It's time to go.
Yeah.
This isn't for us.
Yeah.
And I don't really have that. I have a beautiful younger sister, but I laugh with my sister a very different way too.
Yeah. Hmm.
But I miss that laugh I had. It was really special.
Hmm.
And I have memories of it, but I just don't have it. I don't have it. There's so many healing things that I really love about myself. I really take care of myself. I think at my age, I'm like, how many more years will I have? What's available to me, and putting myself in, you know, spaces that I never previously thought about. Like I started studying dance, So I'm like a 40 something year old ballerina at the
Mhm.
Alvin Ailey extension, but I love it. I go in there, I put my little leotard on, I pick out my shoes, my tights. I'm like in a Fame episode.
I love
But
it.
really, I'm standing next to like the 70-year-old
Mhm.
ballerina with spiky hair who is putting her leg all up, and my knees hurt, but they play music. I did a voguing class. My knees still recovering from that. But I knew Paris was burning. My kneecaps were burning. That's what happened to me. But I was like, I'm just gonna do it because I'm gonna do that. And I do things like I spend a lot of time in nature. It's very centering for me. Um, I try to be present every single moment because I can't take it for granted. Even the painful moments,
Yeah.
I'll befriend the grief. I'll be curious about the grief. I won't try to rush it now. I listen. And I'm like, this is weather. It's come in, like this insane blizzard that's happened over here in this part of the world this week that shut everything down. And then there was stillness.
Mhm.
And so, I do sound baths for myself. I love a lavender magnesium bath. Breath work is something I've started to study that. Holding space with people, just listening actively to people's stories, is a way to feel connected to people when you're in pain because you feel so isolated and
Yeah.
you almost feel guilty or ashamed, like you can't get it together. But it's okay. So I do all kinds of things. I am turned into this yoga, Pilates, bar class diva. I love it. I have cut muscles now. I'm like, oh, okay. And so I just, if there's a place I want to go, I go. I'm okay to eat alone in a restaurant. I have a good book.
Mhm.
I'm good because I have a friendship with myself and I've come home to myself inside. And when I think about my grief, I'm like, wow, I love hard. I love that about me. And whether I was in pain or healing, I'm going to always keep my heart open because that's what the grief is about the love, is trying to get back to that love and then hold on to that. So there's so many things I surprise myself by. I saw something recently about whimsy. And so I went out and bought this lime green wig. I'm going to put this on and walk outside with it and just like, why not,
Mhm.
and dance around. So, I mean, it's lovely.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I think there's something that happens, I don't know, at least for me, where it's just like on the good side, it was like my capacity is like almost gone. It's like I used to be able to take like DEFCON 11, like uber stress. Now it's like I have three nerves. Two are reserved for my personal life. One is reserved for my professional, and that is it. Now it's just like I cannot. I've reached the rooftop as soon as things look like they're going to escalate. And so it's like it has really forced me to take care of myself in a way that I just didn't because I
Mhm.
didn't have the capacity before. So I didn't know
Mhm.
I was stressed. Like I would be like, I don't know if I, like I didn't even know what stress looked like because I think I was perpetually living in a stressful state, like,
Mhm.
overachieving and doing all these, saying yes to
Oh,
everything, you know, no
I mean, I think
boundaries.
it's normalized. I mean, I grew up in a house where it was just like, you got to work. You
Yeah.
need to work and do some more work. And then it might be some more work for you to do.
Yes.
And then, that type A personality, like, I completely relate. I love that you have your nerves organized. Is three.
There's only
I'm like,
three.
I might have to borrow that because I think I still have too many. I do have a last nerve, but the middle part is
Down
where
that
I'm
little.
like, but I
Down
do
the
find
little.
myself, I think when you really are in recovery from that immediate, intense grief, your body, like it can take you out of here. And there was a moment before I really started working on this book. I was like, all of this trauma could actually, I will have a stroke or a heart attack. I feel like I might drop dead. Like it really, and it didn't seem like, oh, I'm just saying that. I
Mhm.
literally was like, I can't put any more on my body.
Yes.
And thinking of chronic grief in our lives, there's all kinds of levels. It's not just someone you love died, it's grief for the selves, the versions of yourselves, parts you keep and parts you lose, but just even in your day to day, how you organize your day. Like, I have to start the day, can't nobody talk to me for about a good hour and a half. Do not speak. I need to have my me time, my meditation. I just stare out the window.
Hmm.
I just need to have that. But I hear you because there's so much pressure. And only when you're really about to kind of pass out from the chronic pressure and tension in your body do you think, oh, I might have pushed myself too far. And then you go into autopilot, like, well, no, I'm fine. I didn't, I keep going. I'll do these next things. But one part of grief as an asset that I have retired is the people pleasing. It's gone. I can't do it. You know, I say I'm very intentional with all the things I do, but I know I have to pour back into myself and do restorative things because, like they say, like if your oxygen mask is not properly on your face, you can't help other people breathe.
Exactly. And congratulations. I too am a reformed people pleaser. And it has made my life so much easier. And I'm just like, no, I'm so sorry.
No.
I can't do it. And I remember like my dad is a to this day is a missing persons case. And so it is like perpetual stress and it's another country and all the things. And I'll never forget when I was like still an entertainment PR exec, I was on a work trip. And I came back and my doctor, she gave me an IV drip. She's like, you have to, she's like, you're just exhausted. She's like, you have to not work. And I was like, what? I can't, like, I'm literally like trying to go back to work. But I think what the best change has been for me personally is like, now I listen to my body. Like, I let my body tell me what's going on. And I'm just like, okay, if my body is having a reaction, I'm just going to move forward with making sure I'm good versus letting my mind tell me all the things I have to do, quote unquote, that I was just, for most part, imposing upon myself. So,
I send you such care about your family and your father. I send you such care, and that's hard too when you have the ambiguous loss, ambiguous grief. There's no answers, there's no closure, there's it just keeps going. That is very painful. And I completely agree with you, sis. Like your body, I mean, we've read this book, the body keeps a score, and there's so many books, there's so much that you can read. But at the same time, we all have intuition and we override it almost all the time
mhm.
because we want to be productive. But the intuition will really get you together. And, person, places, or things, if my guts or something, my spidey senses are feeling weird, I'm out. I'm not going to do it. And sometimes it's like, oh, there's all these things going on. And I'm like, lay down. You need
Yeah.
to lay your tail down. You can't go anywhere. But, dehydration, I mean, it's all kinds of things in your body where it's like, have you really drank enough water? Did
Mhm.
you get enough sleep? I'm someone, if I'm stupid if I don't have 8 to 10 hours of sleep. I don't make good decisions of what I eat or what I do or the company that's around me. So that means like instead of being out all night like I am in the flower bearers, I have about an hour and a half after we have our conversation, and I will be putting PJs on. I'm so happy about my bed. I will be getting it in the bed on my little lavender candle and all of that, my magnesium. But it's about, how we age, how we carry our narratives,
Mhm.
and our body carries them too, that's where they are.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you do take care of yourself and that you are sharing your journey so that we can see, because sometimes we don't get enough models and examples and stories that people feel like it's possible for them to do it. And
Yeah.
it never is this thing where just tomorrow I'm going to start my whole new life. No,
Yeah.
just one little thing a day, and then repeat that one thing till
Mhm.
you have a month, till you have 2 months. Maybe add in another small thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. And thank you for the kind words. I do appreciate it. Um, so tell me, what does, in this journey with your book, and again, you're on a healing journey. So what has grief taught you about love?
Wow. I mean, grief, I feel like love and grief teach each other. I feel like love and grief teach each other. And love has been the thing for me that has been the superpower. I, I've I've like pulled away from putting them on opposite sides of the continuum, you
Hmm.
know? I don't think for me that they're kind of non-linear, like they're not linear. And it's not that one is the preferred or one is like the bad one and one is the good one. Love can be painful, grief can be painful. I look for the ways that they're very similar and then what is like the distinction
Yeah.
between them. I have awe about love.
Hmm.
I mean, love is awesome.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest gifts that is the most democratic thing that we all have it. Now, grief comes in of how we all define it or how we hold it or what we see, our perspective of it. And then meeting people who have different history, narrative, stories, perspective of what they call love. But it's also, the grief will overlap with the love and the love will overlap for the grief. So I see them in like almost dancers that are connected to each other, and sometimes they hold each other up in ways that are as beyond my comprehension and beyond my understanding. And so the love held me up while I was grieving. And then when I needed to honor and befriend the grief and get curious about it, I had to use love to go into there. I
Yeah.
had to say, you know what? I love your grief. I love my grief.
Hmm.
And what can I learn from it? And how can I expand it so that it doesn't feel like every muscle in my body is constricted with pain?
Hmm.
How can I have grief that doesn't force me to suffer? Well, love can help me not suffer, you know, but it's really challenging some days to remember that in your body, or your brain will be like, well, love is this and this and this, and then life will be like, except for this thing,
Yes.
and the minute you're like, I know all about love, I know all about grief, life will be like, well, here you go, got something for you, and then you're like, oh, well, I don't know anything. it's,
Exactly.
it's exactly that. It's so more and more when I'm in both grief and love have made me fearless. I will say
Mm.
that. They have made me fearless, to go toward other people and hold space with grief, to offer love. I think that is something I'm charged to do now in a way I could not have imagined years ago about my younger self, that that would be a calling. But I'm really making peace with that and accepting certain things about that. And I get angry.
Yeah.
I feel, all the feelings. But I wouldn't change it now. There's some parts of the story I would change.
Hmm.
I miss my sister, but there's so many things beyond our control.
Yeah.
Love is something we can't control it, but we can be in the car. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we can drive it, we can guide it, we can
Mhm.
have, as you mentioned, boundaries.
Yeah.
That really helps love, and boundaries also help grief. Sometimes I wake up, I say, oh, it's hit you hard today.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, you have 3 emails to do. And then if you want to cry with all the snot coming out your nose and be all hot mess, we can do that. And then like you have a Zoom by like 4 though, and then you have to go to the yoga class. So like cry. I'm
Mhm.
not gonna shame you, but then like we're gonna be on the yoga mat.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know? And I don't know. It keeps evolving, but being discerning too of also when has it gone too far? When's it gone beyond the boundary? I can't get up, if I can't feed myself, if I can't get in the shower, if I can't be present for my family or like my close inner circle and stuff, like I have to really stop everything. And it's like all hands on deck because I need help. And I
Yeah.
think that's the thing too, asking for help and being vulnerable. There was a point with me, and I write about in the Flower Bears, where I was like, this is greater than me. I need a lot of help. I have to put my whole life back together.
Yeah.
And it was for the personality which you described, which I think I have too, of doing all these things, and I have to work and I have to get the good grades. And I was like, help. I'm an eldest daughter, so I was like, oh no, I do everything. And then it's like, oh no, girl, no, you won't be doing everything. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, no, I can relate to so much of that. I think what you say about grief and love, I don't know, there to your point, like love being you can be in a car, can't control love. I feel like grief, I feel like they're kind of side by side, right? Where it's like
really,
it's they kind of go back and forth. And one of the things that made me really think about it when I was reading Bell Hooks All About Love, and I was like, this is great. I was just same with this, but just
listen,
highlighting so much because I was like,
whole
love
book highlighted. Whole book is
whole
highlighted.
thing. I wish it's not over here anymore, but I'm like, I wish I could show you because I was just like, oh my gosh. I'm like, this is where grief is now in like 25, 26 years. This is how people be talking about grief, but it was so symbiotic. There was so many things where it's like, oh, if you think about it this way, you could just be talking about grief in the same exact way. It's just a different emotion. So totally. And we can be in love, but then obviously if you have a divorce or a breakup, like there's grief that comes with it. But then it's like, oh man, but would I have given up that love to not go through the pain? Probably not, because there's so much that you gain along the way, although it is like heart-wrenching when you're going through it, and
Absolutely.
I don't know this to be true because I'm not married, but I've heard people say that like divorce can be just as bad because they're like, but your ghost is walking around. Like there's no finality to
Mhm.
it because it's
Mhm.
what could have been and not to assign different
Mhm.
levels of grief with because I think whatever we go through and how we handle it is all individual like a fingerprint, but I do think we need to like honor the things that are not just death of a person because sometimes they're kind of shoved away and there's so many other things that happen in our lives that cause a lot of grief that
Mhm.
aren't necessarily connected to losing people.
There's all kinds of grief. And I think that's the thing about expanding our understanding. While I was writing the book, my dog, a 14-year-old, 14 years died. And I was like, you know what? I can't even have a scene where my dog dies in this book because it's too much. Like, I can't have all
Yeah.
this and now, like, the death of my dog.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
was just too much. But
Hmm.
it's like, it's the cycle of nature, right? Right now, everything's covered in snow, but I know beneath the snow, it's like green. And in a
Yes.
few weeks, there's going to be daffodils, there's going to
Yeah.
be tulips. And
Yeah.
you start to feel it in the air, and you take your sweater off. You're
Yeah.
like, okay, cherry blossoms. Like, and it's hard to apply that to our own lives,
Yeah.
but it's seasons.
Hmm.
Marriages can be seasons. Marriages can be very painful. They can be really beautiful. I met a couple this past weekend. They said they were together 55 years
Oh my
and they were
goodness.
smiling and looking at each other all spicy. I was like, say more. Like, what are
Yeah. So
y'all?
how did you get here?
55 years. Did you get married at 5 years old? Because what?
I love
55
that.
years. It's like half of a century.
Right.
My
Exactly.
math was math, and I was like,
Like,
okay.
yeah,
Well,
that's
damn.
beautiful. Exactly. Beautiful stuff to
But
apply.
yeah, I think Love and Grief is, it's Thelma and Louise sometimes. They just go off the cliff in the Cadillac together in the Mustang, and they're both in there. Like, let's not
Yeah,
get caught, and off they go, right?
absolutely.
But yeah, it's wild. And so, thinking about them, but also I love how you mentioned bell hooks because that's the thing too for us, reading, as Baldwin says, like you think you're alone and then you read.
Mm.
So
Yeah. Oh,
you start
yeah.
to see it's a human condition, grief. It's a human, just like pleasure, just like, hunger or thirst. You might as well add grief and love as being essential. I know people say it's essential, everybody needs to be loved, but attached to that is the grief, is that nothing stays, you know. The love stays in you, but the grief is going to stay with you too. So you might want to talk to it, might want to listen, and things that you can do to celebrate the grief too can also change it from feeling so dark, you know.
Yes. Yes. Like right now, I like, and listen, I have my metaphors that I make, but I feel like grief is treated like HIV in the 80s. Like everyone's just like, I can't talk about this, and if I maybe I'm gonna get griefy too of someone else. And it's like you are going to, this thing is going to come to you at some point in your life. So let's get comfortable with it because it's going to happen. And then where our communities are so ill-equipped because it's like you wouldn't throw a kid in a car and be like, okay, figure it out. Like you have to go to driving school, you have to take your driver's test, and but it's like this big thing that happens to us that I quite honestly would, I would gather that most people don't even know they're grieving, and we
Ooh.
we don't have the language nor the indicators to identify what it is, but then we're supposed to just keep going. It's like this is a major problem. It's not the symptom, it's the cold, but it's treated as like this separate thing. But I think like it really is the catalyst for so much that a lot of us are going through, but because we've never been taught what grief looks like or allowed to feel it, we don't know it's happening. And then it makes people sick because you're just carrying it around and you have to, I at least, my personal opinion, just I think you got to let it move through and out of you. Like that doesn't
Mhm.
mean you're going to be cured, quote unquote, of grief, but just to
Mhm.
keep having it on you without any place to go.
I mean, it's so beautiful what you said. The wisdom is just, you know, and I use it, her words in a part of The Flower Bears where Regina King, after the loss of her
Mhm.
son in an interview, said, you know, grief is love that has nowhere to go. You know, if I didn't lay on the floor and cry my eyes out after that, I don't know. But it's the thing too, in our culture, we don't have time to honor someone's grief,
Mhm.
including our own. It's
Yeah.
okay, put up the meme, put up the tribute, put up the IG post or whatever. But in real time, you're really struggling. Like things aren't coming together, or people would be like, well, you know, so and so, I mean, that was 2 or 3 years ago. That was,
Mhm.
um, I can say like, oh, I really miss my mom. Oh, when did she pass? And I'm like, well, 11 years ago. And you just see the person like, oh,
Oh, you
well,
should be, yeah.
you straight. And it's like, well,
Right.
no,
Yeah.
that's my mom. It's like my
Yeah.
best friend. I
Mhm.
miss my mama.
Yeah.
But we don't, in this culture, it's also the feelings. And we don't want to sanction the feelings of grief because then someone has to be a grief caregiver, a grief doula, you know? Like we need that role. And in other cultures, I'll never forget, I saw a video where I'm gonna mess it up, but I can see the image where a woman's husband had died, and this was in Africa, and there was a community of women all around her, and they had clear bags of water on their heads, and they were all singing and moving, and it was like uh, them holding water, like water, this pure thing, and her tears were just flowing and their tears were flowing. And like every time this video pops up, I start crying so hard because there was a space in their community for them to hold that space, that they had been taught that
Yes.
by the women in their village. This is what we do. And so you feel like that's been done. And you know, it just, again, my curiosity about how grief happens in different communities. I have some dear friends in New Orleans and how they
Mhm.
celebrate grief. I'm like, I need to go down there every time somebody dies because they have it's really, it's going to be a drum line, it's going to be this, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to, it's a different thing. But on the most part, more and more, we don't we don't give ourselves the space that our bodies and our spirits, for people who are spiritual, you need that.
Yeah.
And it's like the intensity or the pigment of the grief, how sharp it is at first, and then like it changes. Not that it can dilute, but it also can clot up. And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't process it, it becomes like a tumor in your body.
Yeah.
And you repress it and it's in your organs and in this bitterness and then you're like, who am I? And now you feel lost and estranged from yourself and your center too, because you've been almost invaded by the grief, you
Yeah.
know? But you're on the line by yourself and you feel that way, like I'm trying to hold the line and I'm knocked down and there's who is going to help me. And that's just awful. It's just awful to feel that way.
You've given me a great segue, but also I'm like, I could talk to you about this for such a long time.
Girl, really, this has been an amazing conversation. And I love the cards. I love that you're making a space, like you're insisting on what we need and making it beautiful as a way to communicate, to reach someone else. And just a simple thing of like, I see you, I hold space with you, I'm thinking of you, this is hard. Even someone just saying, this is hard,
Hmm.
can just like open you up,
Yes.
you know? And so it's something distinct and different, and very, very necessary
Thank
because our elders didn't really have that. They had other things.
you. Hmm.
And
Yes.
I wish I knew some of those things. But, it just continues to kind of be a journey. And each of us, as you said, I also think of grief as kind of a thumbprint. Like we all have thumbprints, most of us, but your thumbprint is unique to you. Every little whorl and every little, line and curve is about who you are, and what you've inherited. And that's another thing too. Like you said, we don't even have time to get into it, but just grief that you inherit in your family or, in your town or where you live or any kind of thing. And so it's just a profound topic. And I keep love, grief, joy, healing. I keep them close to each other. And I don't almost in the village put grief out all the way out here because that's not it. That's punishment.
Yeah.
You can't punish yourself because you're grieving. You need care. You need people to hold you, and you need to hold yourself and get help if you need it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with every single thing you said. This will be my last question for you. So I was reading some of Aisha's work today. Two of the pieces I really loved was from the Feminist Wire. It's not the load that breaks you down, it's the way you carry it. And the way that she just broke down, Black women with fibroids and her, was so vulnerable and sharing her experience and the fact that that was written in 2012 and still very much dealing with it in 2014. So it just shows, how how things haven't changed much, but she was just able to capture it in such a way that I really, really appreciated it. And then also read one of her '06 poems to a dear friend, Mothering Misery. And I
Mm.
say that because I feel like it's a love story. Like I feel like my best friend has been my best friend for almost 30 years. It'll be 30 years this year. And that is, we're always like, you're my first love. Like, like it's the first relationship where I feel like I chose to be in it long term. We did not get along all the time, obviously. We're very
Yeah.
different, but she's seen me from a child to all different phases of life. She's now a pastor's wife, so we call ABC, which is her first name before Christ, because like I know where all the bodies are. I know all the things, right? So, so it's just like she's like, you know me in so many stages of life. So I read this
Mm.
very much as a love letter to you all being in New York and just talking about those times when, you seemingly have the most fun when you have the least amount of money and the least amount of worries, right? You just try to figure it all out. So we talked a lot about bell hooks and what that book did for love. What do you hope the Flower Bearer's legacy will be for grief and sisterhood in like the next 10, 20 years?
I really have no idea. I think what I can say is that there's a large part of me now that doesn't need the flower bears. Like
Mhm.
I needed to write it. If I sitting here now the way I am becoming, I wouldn't be able to go back and write this book.
Mm.
So it's very, very, very small snapshot of a life that is still opening. But what I love most now, what I'm most proud of about it is that it is helping other people going through their own version of trauma, grief, love, hardship, whatever it is, friendship, all kinds of things, trying to become an artist, trying to become whatever your dream is, like getting to it. And the letters I get, I just cry. And
Mhm.
then I think that's what I was supposed to do with this.
Mhm.
It's much greater than me. And it's like some poems where you wrote the poem and then it goes out into the world and it doesn't belong to you. Like it came through you,
Yeah.
but it's bigger. And so I feel that way about the flower bears. And I think personally for me, in 10 years, when I look at this book, I will say I showed up for my life.
Mm.
I showed up, I stood up in my life and I stood on love. And that's where I'll be standing in 10 or 20 years. I'll still be standing in love. So I think that is what I could say about the flower bearers and what it means to me. Thank you so much, Ella. I appreciate you.
That's perfect. I don't need to say anything else except thank you. I think that
Thank
was
you
the
so much, Camille.
perfect way to end. Thank you so much. This was like, I was having one of those days today, and this really, really, really lifted my spirit. So thank you
I'm
so
so
much.
glad. That just makes me so much joy. Thank you. And I'm so happy for you and your sister friend. That is beautiful.
Thank
So,
you so much. I
yeah,
appreciate it.
I
Well,
appreciate you.
everyone, get the Flower Bears available wherever you buy books, preferably a Black-owned bookstore that you love if you find one and love it. But please go pick it up if you haven't already. And Eliza, thank you again. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this community. Blessings.
Bye.
Bye.